and gentlemen, the world's largest democracy today successfully conducted yet another democratic exercise as its members of parliament voted to elect the next vice president with 98.2% turnout, including almost all from the opposition ranks. Justice Sudarshan Reddy, who emerged the victor, accepted the outcome, emerged as somebody who was trailing the victor CP Radhakrishnan, accepted the outcome with abiding faith in democratic processes. At the same time, in neighboring Nepal, the Prime Minister has been forced to resign and has probably fled the country. Several ministers have also either quit or fled. The entire system is crumbling like a pack of cards as violent protests lead to a leadership vacuum. Clearly, one country is following the democratic path as the other goes completely astray with coup after coup. And yet, the self-declared saviors of democracy in India look at this collapse in Nepal and almost wistfully think, India next? Unbelievable, isn't it? But listen and to believe.
ये मैं जरूर कहना चाहूंगा कि भारत सरकार इससे पूरे गंभीरता से लेनी चाहिए कि अभिव्यक्ति की स्वतंत्रता है, लोगों की भावनाओं को आप रोक नहीं सकते। एक आवेग आता है, जिस प्रकार मणिपुर घटनाएं हुई, जिस प्रकार उस प्रकार एक दूसरे को जितना निरसंस हत्याएं वहां पर की गई, मैं समझता हूं इस प्रकार की चीजें लगातार वन लीड्स टू अनदर वाली स्थिति आ जाती है।
Now same dictatorship is going on here also. It may happen. These are known as volcanic reactions, and it needs you need just a small fire for that, and that it erupts. And if it erupts in India, it will be uncontrolled.
काठमांडू की जो आग है वो भारत में भी आ सकती है। एनडीए को भी, भारत के लोगों को भी सोचना पड़ेगा कि इस देश की जनता के खिलाफ मत जाओ।
देखिए, ये सब चीज इसी ओर संकेत करता है कि भाई लोकतंत्र के अंदर अगर आप जनता के अधिकारों को छीनेंगे तो उस पर फिर विद्रोह होता है। तो इसलिए नेपाल से हमारे देश के आकाओं को भी सबक लेना चाहिए।
Let's tell you what these leaders are wishing for when they wish for a replay of Nepal in India. Look at your screens. In less than 48 hours since Nepalese youth took to streets against their government, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli was forced to resign and flee to an unknown destination in an army chopper, no less, after his house was set ablaze. His ministers rushed in to resign with demonstrators attacking their homes a day after 19 people died in police action. Mobs chased and trashed Nepalese finance minister across the streets. Former Prime Minister Doba and his wife were assaulted and burnt even and had to be rescued by the army. Energy minister's house was torched as protesters stole cash and threw it in the air. Such was the ferocity of pent-up anger against the administration that protesters set the house of former Nepal Prime Minister Jhalanath Khanal on fire. His wife, Rabi Lakshmi Chitrakar, died after sustaining critical burn injuries. There are several other nightmarish images of violence and chaos. But if there is one image that sums up Nepal today, it is this: of smoke rising from its parliament as democracy lies in ruins. When history books look back at Nepal for today, it will remember this picture and the youth fury spilling over. What happened in Nepal today is reminiscent of similar unrest in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka earlier. Mass rioting that eventually led to regime changes in these countries. Now, even as strategists across the world are exploring the deep state conspiracy angle, with many pointing fingers at China's role in the turmoil, opposition in India has a different agenda. Every single time, the same voices almost rushing to wish for similar fate of their own country. You saw what the India bloc leaders said this time around, but I want to draw your attention particularly to what Uddhav Sena's leader Sanjay Raut said, reposting a video of Nepalese finance minister being mobbed. He predicted that this could happen just anywhere. While the post is open-ended and doesn't really mention India in text, Raut has tagged the BJP and Prime Minister and the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, making his message loud and clear. But what can one really expect from an opposition where the leader of opposition says he's fighting against the Indian state? Not N.D.A, not BJP, but the Indian state. Please listen in.
If you believe that we are fighting a political organization called the BJP, that we are fighting a political organization called the RSS, you have not understood what is going on. The BJP and the RSS have captured every single institution of our country. We are now fighting the BJP, the RSS, and the Indian state itself.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to the Motorola legitimate question on the Newshour tonight. Do Samvidhan saviors want anarchy in India? Is that what they're wishing for? That's the question and that's the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
Joining the debate tonight, Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow at the ORF, Suhail Seth, columnist, market guru, also Anurag Bhadoria, National Spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, Sanjay Jha, author, Congress leader, Anand Dubey, spokesperson of the Shiv Sena Uddhav Thackeray group, as well as Priyanka Kakkar, Chief National Spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. But my first question goes to Smita Prakash, editor ANI, joining me on the Newshour tonight. And Smita Prakash, I want to ask you, what's happening in Nepal? What are you seeing there? What is the conspiracy theory? What are the parallels with Nepal? Unlimited question. What is the agenda? What are we going to see next?
Oh, that's a lot of questions, Navika. But what we're seeing is complete chaos and a group of students who have no agenda as such other than toppling a government. They have no plan ahead. It seems organic in the first look that it's a student-led protest which out of sheer frustration with what they are saying is Nepo kids, that people who have benefited, children who have benefited because their parents were in power. And parents in power because there's like a musical chairs, 14 governments in 17 years, no institutional stability, and they keep changing. But there's a group of people who have benefited from this. They've got great vacations abroad. They've been posting it on Facebook, on Instagram. And the young students, who don't remember, what their parents talk about, the good old times of the royalty and things like that. When they talk like that, they don't know that. They are this post-COVID generation who have only seen chaos, political chaos, and no hope for the future. So this, initially it seemed like it's very organic, but then nothing, seems organic in this region. If you see what is happening in Bangladesh, what happened in Sri Lanka, what happened recently in Indonesia, governments being toppled and some great games being played out by the superpowers in our region so did they fuel it? It's very possible. We've seen massive protests which happened in India too, and it is possible that here too that these protests in some way were fueled or were supported by powers abroad, whether it is in Islamabad, whether it is in India. We've seen these kind of things happening. So Nepal's instability is something that one has to be very carefully watching, because after all, Navika, it is a buffer state between us and our northern neighbor, between us and China. So is China playing a game out there? Are they also playing a wait and watch situation? Who takes over from this? A revolution has a kind of a romance to it, yes. But then from a revolution has to emerge a power center, somebody who will take charge now. Oli has left. Don't know if the current mayor of Kathmandu and whether the president and the others are able to cobble together something. But the chaos in Nepal is something for India to be worried about.
Absolutely. But who's worried about the chaos in Nepal? Certainly not the opposition. What they are worried about and what they are showing the mirror to is actually the fact that, अरे भाई वहां हो रहा है ना, यहाँ भी हो सकता है, भाई देख लो देख लो देख लो. Isn't that what Sanjay Raut is doing, Anand Dubey ji? Sanjay Raut ji का जो tweet है, isn't that incendiary? Isn't that something that is virtually telling and calling out the people that make the same kind of chaos in India? I want to ask you this, Anand Dubey ji, क्योंकि उन्होंने नेपाल की तस्वीरें लगाई हैं, उन्होंने वंदे मातरम और जय हिंद और वो सब तो लिखा है, लेकिन टैग कर दिया है बीजेपी को, प्रधानमंत्री को, फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर को. क्या डरा रहे हैं और उकसा रहे हैं देश की जनता को?
नहीं, नाविका जी नमस्ते, सभी को नमस्ते. देखिए, जो भी नेपाल में हो रहा है बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है, लेकिन साथ ही साथ भारत की तुलना नेपाल से कभी हो नहीं सकती. भारत बहुत बड़ा देश है, भारत दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा लोकतांत्रिक देश है और हमारे देश के लोकतंत्र की जड़ें बहुत मजबूत हैं. हमारे यहाँ बहुत आंदोलन होते हैं. आपको याद होगा जयप्रकाश नारायण जी का आंदोलन, राम मनोहर लोहिया जी का आंदोलन, चाहे अभी हाल ही के दिन में अन्ना हजारे जी का आंदोलन. हमारे यहाँ आंदोलन बड़े शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से होते हैं. यहाँ की जनता जागरूक है, यहाँ के एक्टिविस्ट जागरूक है. हमारे यहाँ जेएनजी की तरफ नहीं है कि संसद में आग लगा दें, पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री की पत्नी को जला डाले. सबका अपना अपना तरीका होता है. देखिए, सरकार की आलोचना करना ये विपक्ष का अधिकार है, जनता का अधिकार है. जब आप मुद्दों के साथ चुनकर आते हैं तो मुद्दे आप जब पूरे नहीं करते तो लोगों में निराशा होती है. अब वो निराशा किसी किसी देश के लिए अलग ढंग से होती है. बांग्लादेश में अलग ढंग से होती है, नेपाल में अलग ढंग से होती है और श्रीलंका में अलग ढंग से होती है. हमारे भारत में अगर निराशा भी होती है तो आगजनी नहीं होती, तोड़फोड़ नहीं होती. कुछ उपद्रवियों को छोड़ दे तो देश की बहुत बड़ा तबका, बहुत बड़ी जनता शांति चाहती है. तो हमारे देश की नेपाल के देश की तुलना नहीं हो सकती, पहली बात. दूसरी बात, अगर संजय राउत जी ने जय हिंद कहा है, वंदे मातरम कहा है, भारत माता की जय कहा है, तो उस पर भी आपको ध्यान देना चाहिए कि वो देशभक्त है, राष्ट्रवादी है, पेशे से पत्रकार है, कई बार राज्यसभा सांसद है. वो सरकार की आलोचना करने के लिए जाने जाते हैं. उनको आपने 100 दिनों तक जेल में डाल दिया बिना किसी गलती के. बाद में हाईकोर्ट के
उसका गुस्सा नेपाल की तस्वीर को लेकर निकालेंगे कि 100 दिनों के लिए आपने जेल में डाल दिया. और आप तो ऐसे कह रहे हैं जैसे संजय राउत जी किसी और प्लेनेट से आए हैं. आप तो कह रहे हैं जैसे वो बहुत ही रिस्पॉन्सिबल हैं. पीटर नवारो के साथ वैसे आप जानते हैं ना. ऑन अ लाइटर नोट, आनंद दुबे जी, पीटर नवारो को यूएसए का संजय राउत कहा जा रहा है आजकल. वो ट्वीट चल रहा है सोशल मीडिया पे, बहुत वायरल है, देखा होगा आपने.
Why insult Navarro? Why do you want to insult Navarro?
पीटर नवारो तो छोटे होंगे, पीटर नवारो तो छोटे हैं, उनसे बड़े तो डोनाल्ड ट्रंप हैं. उनसे बड़े तो डोनाल्ड ट्रंप हैं, जिनके बारे में क्या क्या आज हमारे देश में बच्चा कह रहा है. इसको भी आप सब जानते हैं. हम क्या कह रहे हैं, कौन क्या है उससे मतलब नहीं है. जो भी हो, हम तो उसको जानते नहीं हो. प्रधानमंत्री जी के दोस्त हैं, हम तो इतना जानते हो किसी देश के राष्ट्रपति हैं. हम ज्यादा गंभीरता से उनको नहीं लेते हैं, आप लोग लेते होंगे. देखिए, विषय ये नहीं है. विषय ये है कि नेपाल में जो हो रहा है वो नेपाल की जनता कर रही है. अब हमारे देश में उसको क्यों जोड़ा जा रहा है भाई? वहां के नव युवक, वहां के कम
सवाल सही है आनंद दुबे जी, सवाल सही है, सिर्फ जवाब आपको देना चाहिए. आप सवाल पूछ रहे हैं. Suhail said, isn't this the question that Anand Dubey ji should be answering, because the question has been raised by Sanjay Raut, the senior most ideologue, think tank of the Shiv Sena Uddhav Thackeray group. Instead, they are asking the questions.
You see, Uddhav and his son are intelligent people. It takes one Sanjay Raut to drag the entire IQ of that party down to the basins, as it were. So, Sanjay Raut, to call Peter Navarro Sanjay Raut of America is actually insulting Navarro, because Sanjay Raut is that intellectually innocent as you can imagine. I think there are 4 issues here. Number one, to compare and to wish for ill always on your country is stupid, and it's not being a responsible opposition. So any joker who tells you it is our business to oppose, fine, oppose. But why do you have to wish ill on a country? Because what has happened in Nepal is neither democratic or nothing. It is murderous, it is an assault, it is arson and looting. We saw that in Sri Lanka, we saw that in Bangladesh. Plus, you cannot have our neighbors in a pitiable state because it threatens us more than anyone else. Number two, I think the Sanjay Rauts of the world are getting far too much of importance than they deserve. Actually, I have a feeling he says stupid things only so that he can be relevant. See, some people are relevant because of intelligent contributions, and some are intelligent because of being prized idiots. He belongs to the latter category. I mean, I can't call him an idiot because I don't want any contempt in Parliament.
Absolutely, and not on the channel as well. Please, we disassociate ourselves.
Never believes. Times Now has said very clearly that Sanjay Raut is not an idiot. So
we have not said any of these things.
I am saying Times Now does not believe Sanjay Raut is intellectually innocent.
Please speak for yourself. We have not appointed you the Times Now spokesperson, Suhail Seth.
भाषा की मर्यादा को रखिए. आप किसी नेता को इडियट बोलेंगे यहाँ पे. नाविका जी यहाँ पे बुलवाएंगे. ऐसे टाइम्स नाउ का मैं नाविका जी मैं विरोध कर रहा हूँ. किसी भी नेता को
मैं ऑलरेडी विरोध कर चुकी हूँ. थोड़ी मेरी बात सुन लीजिए. I have said that Suhail Seth is not the Times Now spokesperson, and please, the channel disassociates from any name calling of parliamentarians.
क्या योगदान इनका समाज के अंदर में? ये बैठ के सिर्फ दो शब्द इंग्लिश का बोलना और यहाँ के नेताओं को
Let me finish. I have every right to call anyone an idiot. What is, how are you preventing me? How are you? Is he your brother? Is he your relative? He's not. So let me finish. Point number 4. See, Bhadoria ji, before you were born, I was doing debating, so I can filibuster better than you can spell filibuster. So now let me say the last thing. Now the fourth important thing is, Navika, the fourth critical, just lower his fader because he'll keep interrupting. He has nothing intelligent to say either. So my point, fourth point is, as Sushant Sareen will tell you, as Sushant Sareen, who you have on your panel, will tell you, geopolitical stability, अरे यार एक मिनट बडोरिया जी आप चुप रहिए ना. Geopolitical stability, even Samajwadi Party will agree, is very critical. You cannot have an unstable geopolitical region. In light of that, we as a country have to be responsible. I don't believe that the students of India, this is my feeling of our country, we are not of that ilk that we will go and burn parliament and kill people and set people on fire. I don't think we are that country. But for people to say that ye India may be ho sakta hai, you are instigating people for no rhyme or reason. Number one. Number two, I've always believed, you may disagree with Uddhav Thackeray or Aditya Thackeray, their politics is as Indian as anyone else's, as is Akhilesh Yadav's, the gentleman who's shouting that party. Akhilesh Yadav is also a nationalist. Has Akhilesh Yadav ever uttered a statement like this? Has Mr. Thackeray ever uttered a statement? No. These come with responsibility. These come with a certain sense of national fervor. So my limited point, Navika, is, it will never happen in India, but why do we always wish ill for our own country?
That's the whole point. That's the whole point, because we are getting breaking news right now that the Nepali army is taking over the country for now. That is the latest that we are getting, that after the Nepali Prime Minister has resigned and has left for a destination undisclosed, the army is taking over starting 10 p.m. tonight. But Priyanka Kakkar, I want to ask you, yes, there has been problems in our neighborhood, starting from Sri Lanka, going on to Bangladesh and now Nepal. But every time there are politicians on the opposition side who have first compared Sri Lanka with India and said, wahan hua, yahan bhi ho jayega. Bangladesh, same tone and tenor. Now Nepal, same tone and tenor. Are we wishing this upon our country? Are we actually trying to instigate people in our country? Is this irresponsible by the opposition to use such analogies and such statements?
I think nobody is trying to do that, Navika ji. Firstly, I wish peace upon Nepal as soon as possible, since it shares a border with us. Can you please help with the echo? It's okay. Correct this and I can speak better.
Yes.
Anyway, coming back to this, So I'm saying that, but there's certain, we cannot compare Nepal and India. Nobody can. One is a less than 3 crore janta and we are a 140 crore strong janta, strong democracy, cannot be compared. But however, there are certain issues which we must not ignore. One is that police cannot be given unbridled powers. Like in a peaceful protest, the government there ordered the police to shoot students, which is what created this entire mess, I'm informed from what I read. Then secondly, what I see is that, excessive inflation which could not be controlled, joblessness, no savings, a devalued currency, all of these were burning issues for very long, which were suppressed, which were not catered to. I also read that there were the policies which were designed to suit the ministers, the politicians and their children, while the common janta was left on its own and even basic education was not provided. So I think one should not think that if the janta is quiet or not saying anything, that they do not understand or do not have this resentment. So one must work at these things before it leads to such
but
a
then
thing.
why is Sanjay Singh? Why is Mr. Sanjay Singh of the Aam Aadmi Party? What you're saying makes perfect sense. But then Sanjay Singh is singing a different tune. Now,
but see how brilliantly she has spoken, how brilliantly she has articulated the issues. Why can't all opposition people articulate it like Priyanka has done?
No, but that is her position as the national chief spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party, but the member of parliament in the Rajya Sabha, Sanjay Singh speaks a different language. And Sushant Sareen, that's what I want to ask you. Why is the statement...
He said the same in Hindi.
Hanji?
She's saying he says the same in Hindi.
He said the same in Hindi. He said, हमारे आकाओं को भी सबक लेना चाहिए.
तो आप आकाओं को सबक लेना चाह रहे हैं या लोगों को उकसाना चाह रहे हैं? हिंदी और इंग्लिश मुझे दोनों समझ आती है और आपका जो एक स्टेट है जिसमें आपकी सरकार है पंजाब, मेरे को पंजाबी भी समझ आती है. लेकिन उकसाने की कोशिश हो रही है. That is the subtext. At least that's the sense I'm getting. Sushant Sareen, please tell me if I'm wrong.
Navika, see the problem with people like the problem with people like Sanjay Singh is that they think that in case something similar was to happen in India, it would not affect them. I think some people in Nepal must have thought the same, in Bangladesh also. When mobs run riot, then nobody is safe. And frankly, the Aam Aadmi Party is running a government in Punjab and not doing a good job of it, as everybody will tell you. And there's a lot of anger brewing against them. So maybe when he's talking about Hamas, so maybe to look at what's happening in Punjab. Now, having said that, I think, look, if the opposition parties are saying, and I don't know whether they are saying this, that look, governments need to be careful. The thing with politics is that politicians have an ear to the ground. They have a pulse on the people, right? They should be able to read signs on the streets. In Nepal, in Bangladesh, people simply refused to read the signs that were coming from the streets of these countries. Now, whether there were some other interests at play, somebody was trying to destabilize, that's another matter. But the conditions under which things erupted in these countries were created by the political leaderships of those countries. Okay, it was not that the Americans came and did something in Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan economy was destroyed by the Rajapakshes, right? The Bangladesh political system was undone by Sheikh Hasina and her government. They should have listened to the noises on the ground, the voices on the ground. This is what politicians are supposed to do. Now, the other thing is, what about administration? What about the feckless administration? Do the politicians or does the state as such, forget the politicians, forget political parties, does the state as such get a feedback of what's happening on the ground? What, for example, are the conversations which are going on the streets within minority communities? And Navika, don't forget, there have been occasions in the last 5-6 years when people have tried to do something similar in India. Shaheen Bagh protests were one. And frankly, they were not handled very well by the central government. The only guy who handled them well was Yogi. There have been other protests in this country which they have tried to provoke this kind of an outburst that hasn't succeeded. But I don't think we should tempt fate. And if the opposition parties are warning that please keep an ear to the ground, please read the signs. If at all there is some kind of Sharjeel Memons who are trying to take the Northeast away or break the link to the Northeast, then please be aware of it and please crack down on them. But I'm not very sure if they are doing that, simply scoring political points, but those political points can cut both ways, can damage them as well. It's not necessary that whenever a mob was to go into Lutyens, Delhi, Mr. Sanjay Singh's house will be spared. His house could also come in the line of fire. So I think politicians should be very careful when they talk in these terms. It is good to have a democracy as vibrant as India's, where governments change, there are new governments which come in, elections take place regularly. If people are unhappy with the government in the center, they will vote out that party in a particular state. These things happen in India. We've seen the last election. You guys were all the media, everybody was giving 400 seats and the ruling party was reduced to 240 against all expectations. That is the majesty of democracy. That happens in India. And I think we should treasure that, we should cherish it, and we should protect it.
Well, Sanjay Jha, I want to ask you, the point that Sushant Sareen makes, the romance of the Sharjeel Imams, they are speaking truth to power, is a dangerous road to travel on. If somebody is talking about cutting the chicken's neck and cutting the Northeast from India, this is not going against a government, it's going against a nation. The same mistake Mr. Rahul Gandhi made when he says that my fight is against the state. And it is this thought process combined with the opposition eulogizing the rising, of mobocracy in the neighboring lands that worries me. Of course, we are on the same page. Of course, you have the full right to question the government, to criticize the government, to rap them on the knuckles whenever you want to. But to play with fire is to break India. Why doesn't the opposition get that when it makes these statements almost as if they are in college and this is a college election they are talking about?
Navika, good evening. I think this is a very serious subject and merits a discussion that doesn't polarize on taking a nationalistic view, because what's happening in Nepal, frankly, if you look at some of the hard data, and we can skip all the hyperbole of right-wing sympathizers who are right away talking about these deep state and conspiracy theories, there is an inflation there in the economy. Unemployment in a young country is as high as 12.6%. There are Nepalis who have traditionally been moving out for work and livelihood and sent remittances home, but that has accelerated. So there are serious issues in the post-monarchy period where democracy has struggled. I mean, the truth is that before we start attributing this to, a hostile neighbor and a superpower, having some kind of a G.I. Jones games in our territory, the truth is that there were structural fault lines. It has been triggered by the banning of social media, which Gen Z has felt was repressing their freedom. I think the bigger issue that we need to kind of recognize is that what were they feeling angry about? They were feeling angry about inequality. They were feeling very agitated about the fact that there were some people, the urban luxury elite consumption was bothering them. They even use words like Nepo babies. So I think, we need to realize that most of these, you can call it a revolution, you can call it a coup, they are usually created by economic circumstances. They are not just some kind of a revolt that happens out of the blue. Even in this case, Navika, let me tell you, there may have been a trigger, but if you look at Nepal's history over the last 3-4 years, the various governments have changed. There has been a subterranean angst that has now exploded. Now, this is the way in all societies, governments need to be very alert and sensitive to what the common man wants. I'm very bullish that India will see transition of power through democratic means. And I think that is something that
Isn't that robust in India? Isn't that happening in India? In India, Nepo babies are voted out of power if the public doesn't like them. And even the non-Nepo babies, if they are not liked, are voted out of power. Suhail, say. So what is Sanjay Jha, who is he preaching to?
No, Sanjay, I think the point, number one, I don't think the chaps, if you see the pictures, they're Gen Z. They look more like Gen D. They're generation dinosaurs. They're not certainly Gen Z. B, this Nepo babies and all that, fine. It's all, to my mind, an excuse for bad behavior. What has happened today in Nepal, and as you rightly said, or someone on the panel said, that this repeats itself. Have you forgotten what happened in the royal palace? How the entire royal family was wiped out because one guy's love was not sanctioned, Gyanedra's son. They've had, look at what the Ranas did. Sushant Sareen even mentioned it on Twitter to make all of us feel less historical. So the point I'm making is Nepal has always had this massive history of dealing with logic through violence. India is far more stable. India is a peace-loving country by and large. B, our diet does not allow us to revolt too much because most people want to sleep in the afternoon. Number 3, even if you want to attack the rich, try coming into Gurgaon. You'll never be able to enter Gurgaon. Lakhin's Delhi you can attack. Gurgaon to aate aapka band baj jayega. So my thing is, India and Nepal are incomparable. We have rule of law. We have all the institutions. Some Nepo babies are in parliament, some Nepo babies are not. We have no issues as long as they're elected. So my point is, A, don't compare these two countries. B, be grateful to whoever you worship for the blessings that we have being the great democracy we are. Do we have our flaws? Yes. How will we settle those flaws? Through democratic processes, not by burning bodies and palaces and parliament.
Absolutely, because that's what we hold sacrosanct. But Anurag Bhadoria ji, ये हर बात पर सरकार को नीचे दिखाना, हर बात पर कहना वहां हो रहा है यहां भी हो जाएगा, डर के रहो. मैं पूछना चाहती हूँ इसका कोई कारण, कोई बेसिस तो होगा कि नेपाल में जो हो रहा है उसकी आप बिल्कुल यहां पर थोपना चाहते हैं भारत के ऊपर वो नैरेटिव. क्या ये सही है? ये रिस्पॉन्सिबल है?
देखिए, मैं एक बात बहुत साफ साफ बोल देना चाहता हूं, इस देश में हिंसा की कोई जगह नहीं है और होनी भी चाहिए. मैं हिंसा को कतई सपोर्ट नहीं करता, चाहे इस देश में हो चाहे कहीं भी हो. हिंसा से जान माल का तो नुकसान होता ही है, बल्कि समाज के अंदर सौहार्द का वातावरण खराब होता है, कानून व्यवस्था पूरी तरह कानून व्यवस्था गड़बड़ाती है और समाज के अंदर में हमारे लोकतंत्र को कमजोर करती है, लोकतंत्र की नींव को कमजोर करती है. हिंसा कभी नहीं होनी चाहिए. हिंसा का कोई सपोर्ट नहीं है. भाई, लोकतंत्र में हमारे पास मौलिक अधिकार हैं जो संवैधानिक और कानूनी तरीके से आप मांग सकते हैं, लोकतांत्रिक तरीके से आप उसका विरोध कर सकते हैं. नेपाल में जो हो रहा है वो एकदम गलत है. भाई, निर्दोष लोगों के मारे जा रहे होंगे, निर्दोष लोगों की जान जा रही होगी, कितना जान माल का नुकसान हो रहा है, बिल्डिंगें जलाई जा रही हैं और आपको जान के आश्चर्य होगा सबसे बड़ा नुकसान हिंदुस्तान का है, क्योंकि हिंदुस्तान के व्यापारी वहां ज्यादा है. इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जो जितना जलाया जा रहा है ज्यादातर हिंदुस्तानियों का ही है. भाई, हिंदुस्तानी हमारे रोटी बेटी का रिश्ता है नेपाल के साथ में. अगर नेपाल में अस्थिरता पैदा होगी तो चिंता की बात हम लोगों के लिए, और इस पे एक कूटनीति व्यवस्था सरकार को करनी चाहिए, क्योंकि सरकार को, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि सरकार कूटनीतिक तरीके से इसको हैंडल करेगी. लेकिन हमें क्या इस तरह की घटनाएं होती हैं तो क्या डराती नहीं है? क्या नेपाल, जब ये बात श्रीलंका में हुई थी तो तब भी इस बात पे चर्चा हुई थी, उसके बाद बांग्लादेश में हुआ, आज नेपाल में हुआ. क्यों हो रहा है? ये भी तो चिंता का विषय है कि असमानता, आप देखो वहां पे नेपाल में असमानता कितनी हुई है. 20% बेरोजगार, 21% वहां पे महंगाई है. तो आप सोचो 21% बेरोजगारी के साथ अगर वहां पे रहेंगे लोग और 21% गरीबी के साथ, सॉरी महंगाई की बात, मैं गरीबी की बात कर रहा हूं, 20% गरीबी, 21% बेरोजगारी, असमत, अमीर और गरीब के बीच में इतनी खाई है. तो जब अमीर के और गरीब के बीच में इतनी दूरी होगी, खाई होगी, तो ऐसी घटनाएं, ऐसी संभावनाएं पैदा होती हैं. इसलिए दूसरे देशों को भी इससे सबक लेना चाहिए कि असमानताएं समाज के अंदर पैदा ना हो.
मैं आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ, शुड यू नॉट सपोर्ट द गवर्नमेंट व्हेन इट ब्रिंग्स पॉलिसीज दैट सॉर्ट आउट द इशू ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन, दैट सॉर्ट आउट द इश्यूज ऑफ अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट? उस वक्त तो आप पार्लियामेंट नहीं चलने देते, उस वक्त तो आप डिबेट नहीं करना चाहते. आज आप बड़े बड़े पाठ सुना रहे हो. Smita, isn't this the hypocrisy that if something wrong happens in the neighborhood, they will draw the attention. Bhai daro. But when it comes to constructive criticism or standing shoulder to shoulder with the government on occasions when they can actually contribute to national building, do they ever do that?
कम खुद नहीं करना चाहती सरकार, बेरोजगारी दूर नहीं कर रही है.
Anurag Bhadoria.
Look, Navika, that's an idealistic situation where we expect constructive criticism. I'd just like to say this, that, while many of us will say that, revolutions and referendums, there's no place for that in our country, we have periodic elections, we can't sit in that comfort zone or in that bubble to think that it will not happen to us. I take this threat or this sarcasm or whatever you want to call it from the opposition with a little bit of seriousness. Like Sushant said, we have seen massive protests in our country with anti-CAA, we've seen that with farmers' protests, we've seen that with Agnipath, we've seen that with Award Wapasi. These protests were disruptive, and in many cases it made the government roll back or amend its policies. Now, they did not result in a regime change, but it did result in some kind of a degradation of the government at that time. Mind you, protests are important in any democracy, especially in ours. Protests are important. They do, and they did expose the cracks. There was alienation among the youth. There was farmers and minorities who felt alienated, and the government had to take action. If you don't address these kind of protests, then what happens is that it can weaken the trust in institutions. So a ruling party has to be careful, and there I take the opposition's advice completely at face value, that this may not cause a regime change. But any government has to be proactive in understanding that if there are cracks and if there is alienation among any section of our population, it needs to have vent, and protests are a way of venting it. Vandalism, no. But protests, yes, it is necessary.
Sure, of course, that is the way democracies work, because the voice of the people is the voice that the governments chosen by the people need to hear. And that's what your voice says on the Newshour tonight. Viewers sending us their observations. Raghavendran says, that's why I suspect a person in opposition party travels to foreign country every now and then needs to be vigilant. What is he hinting at? I'm not getting it. Sanjay Jha, if you can, please do. Vinu Pulianda says maybe the Congress party top leadership is wishing and planning for the same in India. Prakash Singha, deep state and few people from India, who want to destabilize India. That's what people feel. That somewhere or the other, when statements like we are fighting against the Indian state actually come out from opposition leaders, may not mean, nobody's questioning their nationalism, but when you make statements like that, even if it is rhetorical, people begin to question, are you involved? Is there a conspiracy? And that's what people of India are expressing. We did a survey. Nepal now, India next lobby. Opposition wishes for anarchy in India. Yes, say 60% of the people that the opposition is wishing for anarchy in India. No, say 34%. Don't have a view, 6%. That's what this really shows from Nepal. People understand, and we in this moment need to be a responsible nation, whether we are on the critical side of the government or the supporters of the government. We need to watch, we need to save our country, and we need to stop instigating people, because India is like no other nation. To keep it that way, well, we've got our duties just as we have our rights. We leave it at that. Thank you very much to my panelists joining me on debate number 1.